I think without just going too deep into it, the values you have in terms of how you might respond to a certain situation
Mm-hmm.
could be overridden by an incentive.
Okay.
And I think it's unfortunate, but it can happen, especially when you see people who, take advantage of a situation or, really squeeze it for everything they can get for their benefit and not for the partner's benefit.
Mm.
Because maybe there's an incentive there to make money, or maybe there's an incentive there to do something that may not have aligned with your values, but keeps the business running. And so if you're someone with a very strong character, you won't compromise your values.
Yeah.
But I just recognize that's not everybody. And so I like to evaluate those things independently.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper.
Ooh.
This is Super Secret Founders Drive, of course.
Super secret.
Founders Drive.
Heyo.
Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? What's
We're
good?
back with another super secret.
Founders Drive.
Don't tell nobody.
Don't tell nobody.
Or tell some people. Who knows?
Yeah.
This week, the one, the only,
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey.
Which we didn't actually get into her actual name, which is not Oprah.
It's where are we going with this?
Her name from her birth certificate.
It was supposed to be
Switch the R and the
yeah,
P.
it was supposed to be
Orpha, or
yes,
something
from
like
the
that.
Bible.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they
But
kept
they
messing up.
They just said it wrong. Is it still on her birth certificate?
I would imagine you can't change that.
Or was it?
You may get a new one, but you
Yeah.
can't change the original.
Or did they misspell it?
No, I believe it was that way on the
And they
birth
just kept
certificate.
saying it, Oprah.
Yeah, and so she eventually went by Oprah because people just didn't know the actual Orpha or whatever the
Yeah.
Orpa or whatever the Bible name was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we just did an episode on Oprah Winfrey
Mm-hmm.
and talking about her rise and success and her calling.
Mm-hmm.
Super secret now
Yeah.
in terms of this stuff. I think this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
The kind of psychology around Oprah, the kind of stuff that you have to do to come out of those traumatic situations and make the most out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also partnerships. I want to touch on partnerships a little bit and why they're important and how to think about them.
Yeah. So I don't know. Why don't we? Let's go into the partnership thing. Cause that's
You want to start partnerships?
Yeah.
We can start there. I mean, we talked a little bit about how Jeffrey Jacobs
Mm-hmm.
was. He's a lawyer. He's one of the architects around Oprah's empire, her business empire, in terms of the vertically owning the OWN network, the Harpo Productions, and then obviously being the star of her own show, and basically allowing her to capture value at all those stages of a show's production.
Yeah.
And then obviously branding it in a way that you can get into everybody's living room, and she's seen as a celebrity. I think partnerships, and we said this in the actual episode that we released on YouTube, there's not a billionaire alive that did it by themselves. They're self-made, but they can't do it by themselves. There's always a team or some help around them.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to highlight that, how important that is to find the right partners, and identify what a partner can do for you. That's probably the best piece of advice is, before sitting down with somebody, recognize what you think a partner could be helpful for.
Yeah.
And then kind of know what you want going in.
Where you need it. And I think the flip side of that is also knowing what you can do for a partner.
Now we're talking.
Now we're
No,
talking.
but and if you're looking for a partner, a
Yeah.
great way to do that is to provide value first.
Yeah.
To get that reciprocity.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
that opens the gate. And again, that's a real powerful thing. But then it's also knowing where that person fits, which I think you're hitting on.
Yeah. Don't just get all
partner to
partnerships.
partner. 'Cause I'll hear people say, "Well, partnerships never work," and it's probably because it's not a it's not an intentional partnership.
Yeah, it's just the wrong. That's so wrong.
Yeah.
What do you mean partnerships don't work?
Mm-hmm.
What about a baseball stadium and a hot dog? What about a beer and a sunset? What do you mean they don't work?
They work, but it's but that is something. I think the biggest thing right there is the intention behind it and knowing the skill set. That never gets broadcasted as much And I don't know how much of that is intention, but I think another thing is looking at where you're lacking in skills. And this goes to what you're saying, like what you need from a partnership, and balancing that with what you're offering. And the thing that is what you think might be valuable might not always be valuable to the other person.
Very true.
Sometimes some people in a partnership just want to feel good about being in a partnership.
I mean, take it to the human level.
Yeah.
Some people in a partnership or a marriage just want to be listened to.
Yeah.
That might be the only thing you have to do to get them to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it could be, the bar could be that low, or you take it to the stakes where it's Oracle partnering with OpenAI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's partnerships at every level. I think understanding, like you were saying, the skill sets that you're missing.
Yeah.
I think it's also understanding the amount of time that you might have to use to like execute on something, or you might be able to get somebody else to help you do that to make the execution go, faster, smoother, whatever.
I think a big thing with partnerships is alignment.
Ooh.
Alignment is one of the biggest things that doesn't get sold enough. This isn't.
What do you mean by alignment? Because it's an important one. But what do you mean by alignment?
I'm gonna get into that in a second. I just want to highlight this because this is not something that you learn in business school. They don't say, "Hey, man, when you're partnering,"
they assume everyone's aligned,
and this is why this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Yeah, we don't typically partner because people aren't aligned." It's alignment of values, and what values are what you actually find, like what each party thinks is valuable and important, and making that very, very clear. And sometimes that's it's transparency.
Yeah.
So if you could be doing a great job, but if this person's not getting the level of transparency, they might be like,
poor partnership.
Yeah, it's terrible. Sometimes it's being called a partner and not, a client or whatever it might be.
An associate.
Yeah,
from last week.
Right? And so it's like that is the biggest thing, is really getting into what people find important, what the other party finds important, what you find important, and then making sure that there's an alignment there. That, okay, we both understand these things, and if anything ever fractures, then we know, okay, we either need to resolve this or we can part ways.
I like aligning incentives. The values are good.
Yeah.
But I also like aligning incentives.
But the reason why I say values is because I think incentives
come from
values.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think
you want the things that you find to be important.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Yeah, to me they're a little bit different, and so I would definitely say they're both things that I would evaluate.
Okay.
But it's a good thing, because alignment is huge. If you're not aligned, you're gonna, imagine being in a relationship where you're not aligned. You're gonna disagree on everything.
Yeah, and then it's like, and some people like a little bit of, like tension and back and forth aspect. What's funny is, like, you might have some people that have been together 60 years and they seem like they're always bickering, but it's always been that way. But they like that thing right there, whether it's explicit or implicit. But I'm interested in your difference on incentives and alignment.
Values. I think I without just going too deep into it, the values you have in terms of how you might respond to a certain situation could be overridden by an incentive.
Okay.
And I think it's unfortunate, but it can happen, especially when you see people who take advantage of a situation, or really squeeze it for everything they can get for their benefit and not for the partner's benefit. Because maybe there's an incentive there to make money, or maybe there's an incentive there to do something that may not have aligned with your values but keeps the business running. And so if you're someone with a very strong character, you won't compromise your values.
Yeah.
But I just recognize that's not everybody. And so I like to evaluate those things independently.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper.
Ooh.
This is super secret. Founders Drive, of course.
Super secret.
Founders Drive. We need to get Oprah saying that. Super secret! I love it!
Yeah.
Follow!
Let's see, subscribe!
Subscribe! But the
what's the deeper thought on that?
Is if people show that they're incentivized by something that contradicts their stated values,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they don't value what they stated as much.
Exactly. And I
It's
think that's why I like to do these independently, is because it's also very hard to know what somebody actually values unless they're like unless you know them really well.
mm-hmm.
They can lie.
Yeah.
They can front.
Lie to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
lie to, and that's a big thing, is
Yeah.
they can lie to themselves, they can, and that shapes the whole
Dynamic. Yeah.
and,
Partnership.
and I think that's why it's really important to really pay attention to values, not just, okay, we've done our values, I've written them down, and they're really generic. It's like, no, action level values.
Mm-hmm.
When you put something in front of this person and incentivize them by something, how do they act?
Yeah.
That's the real measure of someone's values, I believe. And I think that there are just like their basic values, human values, etc. But then I think there's also just, I mean, I was talking with somebody who's been in the startup space, and this person said it's really interesting how people act under pressure in the startup world.
Oh yeah.
And even when a company gets acquired, you have sharks come in, and she was like, I leave at that point. She was like, I've seen how people are incentivized after that whole acquisition.
Right.
And she was like, I don't like being part of there. I'm going to go on to the next startup. Because you see how people, what people really value. And I don't think it's always pretty.
No, it's certainly not. Business is not always pretty, not always fair.
Yeah.
It can be a very harsh reality if you aren't prepared for something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's harsh even in the regular world when you're not prepared for a layoff or something like that, right? Like, yeah, business can certainly be ruthless.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a distinction between your values and incentives. I think partnerships are still a key point because you have to be able to navigate partnerships.
Yeah.
You can't do everything alone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting thing, and I also think it sets up the next part of what we've been talking about for the last few founders is founder values, and what the founder of the week that we're talking about values and what they find important.
Yeah, I think for Oprah, it's certainly probably her calling, and if you can align something with that calling that she has expressed multiple times publicly around connecting and storytelling with people, if you can align something around that, she's way more willing to fundraise for you or donate or stuff like that because it aligns with what she values.
Yeah, it just happens. I think so. Another thing that I heard is values are really interesting because when you are in alignment with your values and what you find valuable, you feel good. Like it's just an effect of the body. You just feel good.
Okay.
When you're in a situation when you're not in alignment, you feel bad and you feel like you're not getting what you want. You might feel, especially if you're expending energy towards something that you don't like, you might start to resent it. You might start to
100%.
feel and so I think values are really core to what we are as beings. And I think that it's really interesting because when you align with somebody's values, using like this Oprah case that you were just mentioning, like people will give you things, they'll just like want to be around if you're fulfilling something that they find to be really, really, really important. And so I think in business, it's really just finding, like for instance, a pain point on this. The flip side of a pain point is what somebody prioritizes. That's what we talked about, a long time ago. Priorities and pain points are two ends of the spectrum.
Definitely.
And so, a prioritization is literally a value list.
Yeah.
And so, the things that people prioritize or pedestalize are the things that they find the most important, which are also the things that they value the most. And so, being able to serve that, people will give you things in order to get the feeling that they get from you fulfilling
100%.
that value or that thing that they find important. And when somebody's in a lot of pain, that means that they just want that pain to go away, and so that means that's the thing that's
highest priority.
Exactly.
What I'm curious about, taking it a step further,
Yeah, let's go deeper.
What you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
But I want you to dive into. All right, so we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into values and alignment and that stuff. And so I was curious, like, how you think about long term being with aligned in your values and short term, and then how to think about that, because I do think it can swing. That pendulum can swing very quickly, and it could also be something where you're in the pocket for a while and then it stops, and how to manage that.
Yeah. Two things that come to mind.
Okay.
One is the Oprah story that we talked about on the main episode, where she was saying that she went to go and ask for a raise because she realized that her coworker was getting paid more than what she was getting paid.
Right.
And she realized that in that moment when they started bringing up things that weren't relevant to the work that she was doing, they were talking about her life circumstances and situations, that she realized, oh, I'm not going to get the validation, or I'm not going to be seen or heard in the way that I want to be seen or heard here. And so I need to start mobilizing and moving towards something different. And I think that's something where I think it's something that you have to become more familiar with your internal senses. But I think that it's also a skill that can be trained through paying attention to that. And I also think it's something that you don't have to act on it right away. It doesn't mean like, that's hey, important. I'm gonna rage quit in the moment.
Yeah, burn the boats.
Yeah, but burn the boats while I'm on the boats, right? Like, but she realized that I need to start, figuring out something different, because this is in a situation. She didn't even ask for the person to fight with them. They're like, oh, okay, you're not even listening to me. I got it.
Right.
And that's something that, I feel that too. I mean, that's something at jobs that I've worked in the past, certain clients that I might work with, where I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't it. Because, and I think it's what it does is it provides contrast. Those situations provide contrast for what you actually do feel good about, and what you do think is a good situation that's aligned. And I think with alignment, it's not just a good feeling. Oh, I feel great right now. I think that's the really surface level analysis that feels very like woo-woo.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a, okay, I can go down a checklist and, oh, this hits this checkbox, and this checkbox, and this checkbox, and this checkbox. And so I think the feeling can help steer you to go and say, do I need to evaluate things, or am I in a good situation or not? But it shouldn't just stop. It shouldn't just
it's
stop at the
continuous.
feeling, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't just stop in terms of time, but it also shouldn't just stop in terms of like the data gathering. I think it's a good signal. Like if you have the alarm go off, you don't want to just be like, okay, alarm's going off, and leave it there. It's like you need to do some further evaluation to really find out what's going on.
Yeah, do you have and you may or may not off the rip, but any examples of those kinds of check boxes that you might use to say, hey, does this align with my values?
Any examples in terms of situations, or in terms of like criteria?
Yeah, the criteria, the actual check boxes that you might say, oh, this is something that would be on my list.
I think part of it is my goals. Part of it is like my goals, and I think something that I really refined my purpose around, which I feel really comfortable with, and I think it also reflects how I navigate, is I want to ultimately advance and contribute to the world's creativity.
I like that.
And by that I mean, and I think business is a really important thing to do that. I think a lot of creativity is handicapped by business. And so I think looking at that blend right there, where it's like, okay, how can you enable people to follow their pursuits? Because I think people are most creative when they're aligned with their interests, their passions, their skills that they've already developed, and their experience. I think when those three things are in alignment, people can become really dangerous in terms of what they can contribute and what they can create. And being very specific around the creative act. I mean, take something that is in their imagination and bring that into the real world and bring it into existence.
Offer it.
Right? Yeah. And then from there, but that's like the missing piece that we're really working on, is like that offering part, which is the business aspect of it, which a lot of creatives haven't really understood how to do, is take that thing and say, okay, now I want to offer this. And I think when I say creative, I'm talking very, very broad. I'm not just talking about it in terms of fine arts,
Sure,
or what
yeah.
we've labeled as creative. I'm talking about it in terms of people that have a brilliant idea,
Liberal arts, all kinds of arts.
all kinds of arts.
Yeah.
But people that have like a brilliant idea or something that's going on in their head, and they want to turn it into something, but don't know how to do that, because they've been spending their time on the one thing, developing that idea, but haven't really understood the business part of it. And I think I was fortunate enough to go to business school and get familiar. I didn't learn all the practical stuff, but I was
Right.
familiarized with business, so that way in my creative pursuits I feel like I've been able to keep that up, but not be scared to be like, oh, that's something for somebody else. And bringing it kind of back to this alignment thing, I think about that a lot, is what aligns with those goals. And there's some things where I'm like, man, this just isn't this, this person isn't there. A lot of times people will tell you specifically, I don't care about that thing that you're doing right there, or that's not important.
Right. That's
I'm
the
like,
easy one to say,
yeah.
like, oh, that's not aligned with my values.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is gonna stop eventually.
Right.
So that's probably like how I measure that criteria, is like, is this fitting my overarching goals? Do I have better alternatives right now? And then if I do, but I'm still not moving, I'm like, okay, is this something that I'm there long term with? Do I see a path out? Can I create a path out?
Right.
And I go from there. But I'm curious about you. Do you have any criteria for finding whether you're in alignment with the situation?
I do find it hard to put a definition around stuff that is an innate feeling. I find it hard to put definitions around things like emotions. Like, I don't really know how I might describe like love, or I don't know how I might describe fear or shame. The same way I don't really know how I would describe that feeling in your gut you get, where it's like, yo, this is not the right spot for you.
Yeah.
Um,
You feel it.
I feel it to the point where at my last corporate gig, I would have physical convulsions, and it sounds terrible, but like, it wasn't like, that public. I would feel my stomach start to churn if certain things started happening. And I was like, wait a second, this isn't normal. I've been here for almost a decade. I know how to navigate this space. This is not normal.
Yeah.
And these alarm bells start ringing, and then you start paying attention to that. I like taking that, we talked a little bit about in the Oprah episode here on YouTube, the amount of spiritual practice that one does throughout the day. And I think part of my spiritual practice is making sure that I'm listening to my body when it does have these kinds of reactions. And so for me, it's not necessarily like a checklist where it's like, I could put it on a whiteboard and then like track my progress against it. But it's a continuous thing of like, when I'm in the scenario, I do a gut check and then kind of play it from there. And it seemed to serve me pretty well so far.
Yeah.
But I think as I get older, I'm going to have to start refining that into a very literal sense, because I think that's a good way to convey what I'm thinking and really teach people how to really get control of their own body's instincts. Because I think everyone has those signals, just not everyone's attuned to them.
Yeah.
So that's how I interpret the, are you in the right spot? Are your values aligned? All that stuff.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I think there's
I struggle to say it on platforms like this because it's not really concrete advice.
Yeah.
And it contributes to that woo-woo mentality.
It's real.
It's how I do it.
Yeah, and it's instinct.
Yeah.
Like, it's instinct, and I think we have instincts that we don't trust anymore because we're in this world right now where everything is viewed. People are like, oh, that's cringe, and
because everything is doom scrollable.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we have these bodies that have instincts, and I think being able to listen to those instincts and say, okay, this requires further examination, or like, I think when you're not aligned, your body will viscerally react.
It can.
And you feel it. You're like, oh, this is not something that I am in, and you know it. Like, there's sometimes where you're like, this isn't great, but like, I'm making progress. And
that's so scary too, because humans are the most adaptable creatures on Earth.
Yeah, so you
the
can
most
adapt
yes.
adapt to it. And this is another thing. We value comfort and convenience
Yes.
that comes from like predictability,
Which is the antithesis to growth.
yeah. And so you can be in a situation where you're comfortable and it's convenient, but you're not maxing out your values and like the pleasure you can feel, the sustained pleasure you can feel from being in a valuable situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I think that there's a lot there, but I think a lot of the biggest thing that I take away when we talk about founders drive from Oprah is probably that. And I think like
The instinct and
Yeah.
the checking in with a, hey, am I in tune with where I should be right now?
yeah, because you're like your body is animated by this breath breathing mechanism. It's like alive. That's how you know somebody's alive, is they're breathing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so when it's steering other ways or it starts to tense up, it's basically this spiritual practice is getting in tune with that and getting clarity with that. And I believe that, you know, a lot of these stories and old practices that people used to rely on in the past were really valuable because they helped us get closer to that instinct,
Right.
and what we actually find to be valuable. And I don't think that's something that you can get on just one blog. I think it can help steer you in the right direction. Even this podcast, it can help steer you in the right direction, but ultimately the reason why I think it's hard to give advice on it is because somebody actually has to go out there and be like, okay, I want to learn this a little bit more for myself. And that's the thing that, you know, you can't really, it's very difficult to articulate without somebody wanting to meet at least not even 50%, like 75% of the way on their end, because they have to be wanting it.
I also think it's also a symptom of that learned helplessness, which is, oh, just tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
You just tell me what I have to do. Oh, I have to sweep this. Okay, I have to go do this. Okay,
But
you know, it's like, no, you need to not scroll past this.
Yeah.
And raw dog reality for an hour, reset your dopamine, and not sit there and doom scroll, because you're taking away some of that. You're basically giving yourself that learned helplessness.
You know, it's also really interesting. And this is my like last little note here, is Oprah often talks about being first and then doing. And I think the learned helplessness, where it's like, just tell me what to do, implies that you don't even believe that you're that thing that can do the thing.
Right.
You know, and so that's I think a huge note, where it's being means that you have to see yourself as the person that can do that thing first.
Yes.
And not the person that's lacking the ability to do that thing or the capacity to do that thing.
Right.
It needs to get it from somebody else. And I think that's like a mindset shift, and it's subtle. But I think it makes all the difference.
Yeah. Something that hopefully we have inspired you guys to go out and do.
Yeah.
And to be aligned in your values.
Yes.
And to take everything we're saying here and to hopefully make you a better operator and a better human being.
Yes.
But is there anything else you wanted to add on this great Oprah Winfrey episode?
Orpha.
Or Oprah. Both are legitimate names.
Yeah. No, man. I think this was a really interesting episode. It was a little bit different pace than the last ones, which I think is really dope.
Yeah. A little bit of variety.
Yeah. What about you?
I think that is about it. The only thing I might say is like I am excited to do another round of Oprah when we start making a ton of money, and we can talk about philanthropy.
Yeah.
And the different ways that we look at giving money and the ways that she's been able to successfully give money.
Yes.
I think that'll be a fun future episode.
I think so too.
And so yeah, that'll be about it. If you guys have any founders that you guys want us to look at, please leave a comment, subscribe, follow us on all of our channels, check us out on constants.com.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week for another founder.